Welcome to day 23 of Inktober Tangles 2025. I'm Lisa Crow, a certified Zentangle teacher, and today I'm going to teach you Qurtuba by Aida Rico Mon, certified Zentangle teacher. This one is really cute. I like this. So I'll just zoom in slightly. And how I'm going to do this today is to do, like what I quite often do, these ribbony type tangles on Bijou tiles. But you can actually do this one as a fragment if you would like to. So I'm just creating two very far spread apart parallel lines, and then I'm auditing them, simply meaning adding more parallel lines, but they're closer together. And then we are going to create like a wave in here. Like obviously if you have a different size of tile, you may have more space to work with here. It's supposed to touch this line down at the bottom, but it's not far away from it, so that's good enough for me. And what we do next is that when we have the bits on the right hand side of these waves, we're going to come down and we'll curve that around like so. And then anytime that we have one of the left hand sides of our waves, I'm going to come up the way, touch against that parallel line at the top, and finish it just like that. So repeating that on this section here. And then we're going to add some petals. So these don't need to come all the way along to the neighbouring wave, but you create them so they're sort of coming out of one another and getting a little bit smaller. And then on this one here, so it's almost like they're fanning out a little bit. And then doing that here. Now this one up here, we're kind of using our imagination a little bit because we don't have that full shape to work with. And then here, I don't think we'd even see that bit because it's kind of further out of where we would see. This one, I'm just trying to visualise. No, we wouldn't see one on that side either. And then from here, we add just little kind of flicks to kind of embellish those petals a little bit more. And this is a small thing, but it really makes a difference. It's really, really nice. And then you can stop that there if you would like. Actually, there's another step that's in the step out that I really, really like. And that is to add a little kind of orb that's just nestled in between that kind of printemps shape and those petals. So that's quite cute. And then from that point on, you can kind of make it your own. Like what the step outs have is that there's some rounding, which simply means if you've got any areas where there's kind of an angular space, you can just kind of round it off a little bit, just add a little bit more ink. It just gives it a bit of a softer look. It's quite a nice effect, but it's also quite easy. Could add some more in here. I'm just going to ink this in. That's technically an oops, but it's because I didn't go far enough down with that bit there. I'm not worried about it. I'm not taking my time over this the way that I should be, you know, the way that I would be if I were doing this just for myself. It's quite relaxing to me, looking for the bits in each tangle where I think that there might be rounding to add. It's almost like when you're doing a jigsaw puzzle and you're looking for the missing pieces that you need. And I'll add that over here. And then you could choose, instead of, I'm going to leave mine like this because I like it like this, but if you wanted to, you could ink these areas in, like even more, and that would look really, really cool. So I'm going to come in now with some pencil, just graphite pencil, and go along here on the insides of each of those original aura lines. It's really pretty, this one. I mean, it's like not very many different elements to it. It comes together really quite quickly, but it's really lovely. And I'm going to put just, this is the way I mostly tend to shade my orbs. If I ever complete orbs somewhere, I just put like a kind of smiley face, and then I kind of blend that out with the Tortillion or the blending stump, whatever I tend to be using at that point in time. And I'm going to add a wee bit of pastel pencil, this white pastel pencil. Smooth that out as well. And then just see in the very points of these petals, I'm going to put some graphite in those bits. And then on the farthest bit of each of these petals away from the graphite, I'm going to put some white pastel pencil and just smooth that out. I'm not trying to drag it too much further down that line, because I mean, even like this bit here, because I've got the graphite on that edge there, that's kind of gone a bit more of a grey colour than I would have liked. But I'm going to live with that. And then on this kind of swooping bit here of these prantom, I suppose they're like prantom, if you're familiar with that tangle. I'm going to just put a little bit of graphite on the insides there, just to kind of make that look a bit less flat. And put some graphite on the other sides of these spines, stems, whatever you want to call them. Put it on this side here. And then you can use your intuition with, if you are wanting to add some of this pastel pencil, I just tend to use it where there's not as much graphite really, just where it looks like there's a kind of a more open space. And that just offers up a bit of contrast to what we already have. And I think that looks really lovely. It's just so much more dimension than we had initially. And then I'll come in with my jelly roll. It's a Jelly Roll 08. And I'm just using this just to add a bit of contrast here, just so that it's not quite so dull, for want of a better word. And you could go into these parallel lines here with your pastel pencil or a white colouring pencil, but I think that the white jelly roll's a bit more bold, really. So I'm going in with that. I quite often retrace my lines once I've added white pastel pencil and white pen. I'm only going to retrace these parallel lines. I don't think I really need to, but I'm saying that I might go over. I'll see what I think in a moment or two once I've gone over these outside lines. Yeah, I might just go over a little bit, not over every single area. I went over this a bit carelessly earlier on, so maybe neaten that up slightly. And then down here as well. And I can't forget my chop. I say I can't. I've actually put out many videos in the last couple of days where I haven't included my chop, but I should not forget my chop. I should say I shouldn't forget it. And then I'm going to come in with my jelly roll again, just here. It's such a lovely quick tangle to create. So you could do this as a ribbon, as you can see, a ribbon tangle, or you could create it as more of a border version of a tangle. You could create it, if I turn this tile over, you could do it as a fragment. So if we imagine this is a grid that we have, and it's one of the squares in our grid, then you would have this original shape like this, and then you would have your little petal shapes. With their little flicks, and then a little orb in here. And then the way this is created in the step outs, as this variation as a fragment, it's all inked in here. I'm going to ink it in this side because that's not a very big space, but I do quite like the adding just a small orbish shape in here. But if you're creating it as a fragment, then you might very well decide you just want to ink that full area in. And obviously, like, you know, you can go and look at these individual tangles yourself. You don't need to kind of just go by the way that I have created it here today. You could go in and just kind of make your own thing of it. That's part of the fun. I mean, when I was first getting into Zentangle, I did kind of follow along with what a lot of other Zentangle teachers and tanglers and Zentangle Inc themselves were saying, but then the more that you get into it, you start to make up your own versions of tangles, and you can just see your individual style coming out. So you can just experiment with it. So I'm just adding a bit of shade around each of those bits, and then you can add this rounding that's suggested if you would like to try any rounding in it. Maybe I could add some rounding down here. That's really quite cute. So then I'm just adding a little bit of white just as a contrast to that graphite. So there we go. That is Qurtuba by Aida Rico Mon. It's a really, really lovely tangle. And tomorrow we have Letterish by Jodie Genovese, who is another certified Zentangle teacher. So if you've enjoyed today's video, which I hope you have, then please do come back for some more tomorrow. And then we're kind of fast approaching the end. I mean, we're on day 24 just about. It feels like I've just been doing this for a couple of days, but obviously it's been a couple of weeks anyway. So yeah, do come back please, and I will look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. Bye.